Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I'm back with a new layout and video for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2020 October kits again. And I'm going to try to use some of these fall colored pattern papers that I haven't used yet. I'm going to try to use these in a way where I can get a lot of pattern on the layout without being too busy. And I have two photos here that are were taken at night on a cell phone, so the lighting is pretty dim. It's all four of us on the couch just cuddling and being lazy and being cozy, and I printed them in color because they matched these papers really well, I thought, and the pictures were actually taken in November, so technically they are fall, and I just thought that they would go well with these colors. And so when I am struggling to come up with a starting idea, and I have a lot of pattern papers that I want to use, like these, I tend to want to either use a die cut, or not a die cut, a cut file, or punches, and I love circles. And so I thought, well, let me just start with punching a bunch of circles from all these different patterns and see if I can make a design idea emerge in my head. So that's where I'm going to begin. And I decided to use white as a background since I'm going to have a lot of color going on with those circles. And I don't wind up using all of the circles, but I used quite a few different size punches from my stash. And yeah, I'm going to do some mixed media on the background. So I'm going to go ahead and coat it with clear gesso first before I start to add anything to it. And I know that I want the photos to be situated somewhere on the left hand side, since most of us in the photos are looking toward the right. And I like to situate the faces in the photos to where it looks like they're looking across the majority of the page. So this is just where I started, just starting to play around with the circles. I wanted to use that chipboard banner from Simple Stories, so I want to incorporate that some way, somehow, and I don't even know if this is the way this is going to go, but this is just kind of when I start with the process. I just start playing around with what I've got and seeing if it looks okay or what, you know. And sometimes the first thing I try is the winner, and then sometimes I try 20 different things and none of it works. So I played around with the placement of this banner. I wasn't sure if I wanted it to separate the photos or what, so I just took a break from all the circles, kind of know where the photos are going to go, and that's going to sort of help dictate where I do my mixed media. So I'm going to start with one of the Lindy's powders that we got in the color kit this month. We got 3 different colors in the October kits, and this first one is called Marigold Yellow Orange. Very bold, very vibrant, and you saw me there. I just dumped some of the powder out, spritzed it with water, and then I'm going to start to use my brush and kind of just tilt the paper different ways to help it start to run and blend. And this looks kind of brown, but it's definitely a deep yellow color. I know the lighting on my desk, sometimes it does not give you the true reading of the colors. So that's why I always like to get a lot of close-ups at the end so you can see what things really look like in the proper lighting. But, you know, and it also depends on the daylight coming in through my windows. The lighting changes even though the lighting over my project stays the same. Each day is different. I'm going to add in a little bit of the pink color. This one is called Autumn Maple Crimson, and do a little mixing and matching here. At first I thought I wanted that deep yellow color, but then I thought maybe I want some variation, so some of it looks yellow, some of it looks orange, and I always love to mix more than one color, you know. I just think it adds some variation, it gives you some lights and some darks, and I love how multiple colors run and blend together. And this is one of my favorite kind of backgrounds to make, just kind of a big color wash on the background. And I just want this to show around the photos and then kind of around and in between all of the circles, wherever they may go. And that little dark spot on the background, I don't think the gesso was completely dry in that spot whenever I dumped the powder out, and it kind of just created this little dark spot that I could not activate with water, but it it works out in the end. It doesn't make a difference. It gets covered up. So I'm going to keep working on this background. Sometimes the backgrounds take me a while because I just keep going, you know, and they stay wet for a while because I add lots of water, and it just keeps growing and growing. I didn't anticipate taking the color all the way to the top of the page and then all the way to the bottom of the page, but that's what happens. And it actually works out because I wind up running the circles off almost to the top of the page anyway, so I think it works out. But I love watching the colors run and blend. Why is that so mesmerizing? I don't know why, but it just is. I like turning it and letting it just kind of run and drip, and then when it dries, you know, you still get that, I don't want to call it streaky look. I'm not really a big fan of streaks, but you can kind of see what I'm talking about there. You can kind of see where it ran and blended together. And I think that's an interesting shape, the way it dried. And you can see here now that it did dry eventually, and I can't really activate it with water anymore. The gesso allows it to do that initially, so you do have time when you are first making it. But once it kind of dries, you know, it's going to soak through the paper at some point, and it's going to be hard to reactivate it with the water. So anyway, I think the background's done at this point. I'm going to ruffle up the edges of the circles and then kind of add a little bit of a faded, hazy look by just smudging some white gesso over some areas of some of the circles here. I like doing this just to give it a little bit of a weathered look, so it's not just one stark color, if that makes any sense. And I like the edges to be a little wonky and crooked and ripped. And if you don't have an edge distressor, you can use the edges of your scissors and they will do the same thing. So I'm going to leave the background alone for the time being and start to work on my photos. I'm going to add a subtle layer of messy, torn, ragged white tissue paper behind there just to give it a little bit of a border, and then pop the photos up with some adhesive foam here. I like to do this to create some depth and just to give a little bit of separation from the photos to the background. It just kind of brings them to life a little bit more, I think. And then I'm going to start to work on where exactly I want them to go and where I want this little triangle banner to go. I initially thought I wanted it to separate the photos kind of in the middle there. And then I left it there and started working on the circles. And I'm not quite sure where I would add a title. That was kind of my thought. I thought, well, if I put the banner in the middle, where would I put my title? You know, is it just going to be stuck over there to the side? Would that look okay? I don't know. I do like where the circles are, so I'm going to go ahead and glue those down without moving them. And I do like where the photos are, but I am going to move that banner. I do want to add in some thread. You know me and my thread obsession. I've got that dark orange color, I've got the golden yellow color, and I've got some of the navy blue. I thought I had some of that deep purplish pink color, but I don't, so I don't use that. Add a little bit of the orange down here at the bottom because I don't have a lot of that color in that section, and then I'm going to add the dark blue thread up at the top because I don't have a lot of blue up there. And I like to kind of scatter the colors around to kind of make sure the layout is weighted equally with the colors. If I'm not doing a tone on tone. If I'm doing tone on tone, then all the colors stay in one section. But in this case, I want the colors to be all over the place. So I kind of wasn't sure about the top. I thought about adding blue thread on both sides of the picture, and then I didn't really like that because I have it on the bottom of the bottom photo, and I was like, that's just doesn't, I don't know, didn't like it. So I take it off and then just decide to add it to the left side because it's more visible there. There isn't a circle there, and so it stands out a little bit more against the background. So now I'm going to sort through more stickers. These are stickers from that Simple Stories sticker book, and I picked out 3 circles, and I thought that these would go well since I already have a circle theme going here. Picked out a couple more things, tried them out, wasn't quite sure what else I wanted to add and where I wanted to add it. I knew I wanted to try these circle stickers out in a couple different places, so I wanted to go ahead and make them die cuts instead of stickers. So I just stuck them to a little scrap piece of white cardstock and then cut those out, and then I can just move them around. I don't have to worry about sticking them to the background just yet because I'm not sure where they're going to go. But I just picked ones that kind of went with the colors and the patterns that I have going. Tried a couple other things. I thought about trying to use some of those shiny gold house die cuts, but I couldn't find the right place for them. And I mean, because we were at home, so those would have been perfect, but I didn't really couldn't find a place for them to go. So I put those aside for now. And then I decide to use the other circles that I have everywhere. I'm going to do the same thing that I did to the bigger ones earlier. I'm going to ruffle up all the edges and then kind of make them a little bit hazy using some white gesso. And I always do that with my fingers because that's just the best way to smudge it down. Yep. I'm not scared to get my fingers dirty because you know, I always got my hand in some mess every time I'm making a video, right? So this is where I decide to move the banner to the right, and then I thought I would use this giant, thicker, shiny gold piece that says home as the title, and it actually fits just perfect right there in between the two photos. So I'm going to pop up the chipboard banner here with some little pieces of adhesive foam. And again, I just like the dimension that creates and the shadow effects that just raising it up a little bit makes. Go ahead and glue down the pictures because I know that's exactly where I want them to go. And they're not perfectly straight. Like I say a lot, I make things crooked on purpose because it's a lot easier to make things crooked on purpose than it is to try to make them straight. And then once it's glued down, you realize it wasn't straight and then it's a big old mess. So just make it wonky from the get-go and you're good. All right, I'm going to glue down the stickers that I made into die cuts. I'm going to use those in a couple spots. And yeah, I'm going to work on the title. So it was a little too shiny for what I wanted for this layout. So of course, white gesso to the rescue. I like to do this on gold pieces to tone down the shine. It's still going to be shiny. It's just more of a matte shine, not so blindingly gold. So that's all I'm doing here is just toning it down just a little bit, and then I'm going to put it right here in the middle and wedge those letters in between the two pictures. And I like how this turns out. And it was the perfect title because we were at home and just hanging on the couch. And luckily my mom was there, so she got some pictures for us, just being silly. And Paige is, I think, a blur in both of them because she was kicking and moving and being silly, and she's never still anyway. So yeah, and that's what I like about pictures like this is they're just spur of the moment memories. They're not perfect. It was dark and it was dim in the living room, and but you know, that's real life. Most of my favorite photos are spur of the moment pictures that are blurry and definitely imperfect. And you know, don't be afraid to scrap imperfect photos because it's still a memory and you still want to remember it. And you know, I used to think, oh, I can't scrap this picture because it's blurry or it's not the right colors. You know, I'm not afraid to turn a photo black and white, but don't be afraid to scrap. Oh, there's Paige's elbow. Don't be afraid to scrap a photo because it's not perfect, because you know, life isn't perfect and you still want that memory. So I say scrap it regardless. Adding in some more stickers here, trying out, I added a little pebbles sticker up at the top that says grateful for all you do. I like the way it fit right there at the top and it was the perfect size. And then I'm going to add in some of these Amy Tangerine, what are these? They're not wooden, they're paper clips, but they're kind of, they remind me of old school hair barrettes. They're like black and brown swirl. I thought, I haven't used any of those yet, so I'm going to tuck one up at the top. It looks black from here, but it's kind of a more brown than black. Has a wooden effect, even though they're not wooden. I'm going to do the same thing to this little Stay Cozy gold thicker. I'm going to add this to the bottom here on this dark blue circle because I liked that it was small. I liked the font, and I liked that it said stay cozy because, you know, we're on the couch, so that's what we're doing. And I like how it fit perfectly right there on that circle. And I am going to add some glue to it, even though it's a sticker, because I have gesso on that circle and nothing sticks to gesso. So I'm going to make sure it stays put. And I'm liking how this is turning out. I was kind of hesitant at first. You know, usually when I make my backgrounds, I'm thinking, where is this going? What is this going to look like? But you can see how it totally changes when you add things back on top of it. So I'm going to use a couple of these. I think these are Pebbles phrase stickers. I haven't even opened those yet. So I'm going to use a couple of those in a few spots just for some added detail. And then I decided to add in more of these paper clips. I'm going to layer another one up at the top and then one down at the bottom. And they are very dimensional, and I'm okay with that. I do add a little bit of glue in there to make sure they stay put, because I don't think I actually put the clip on any paper. I just kind of wedged it down in there. And then I wanted to add something on top of the banner, so I add those little gather together stickers, and I like how they sit on the banner, kind of like a secondary title. And then I'm going to go and add a couple of these tiny little heart stickers in a few places, just for some added tiny details in a couple spots, and they're orange and yellow and that dark burnt orange color. Yeah, at this point it's just a matter of adding small details because the bulk of this is finished. I'm going to go ahead and write my journaling over to the right because there's really no other place to put it. So it's going to go here, and journaling is definitely something I want straight. I want everything else crooked, but my journaling, if it's crooked, it drives me crazy. So that is where I do use a ruler. And then I'm using a fine tip Sharpie to write it. And then I felt like I needed something in this little open negative space in between that yellow sticker and the journaling. So I thought I would add in some more thread. Of course, thread is always my answer when I need a little something something stuck in there. And I use that golden yellow color right there, and I like that. That just adds a little something to fill that space, but it's not something that's a big giant die cut or something that's going to detract from that area. So I like that about thread. It just gives a pop of color, it gives a pop of texture. And the last thing I'm going to do is add in some gold splatters, and I know I've said this several times. We got that a year ago in the Christmas kits. It's the Jen Hadfield gold glitter spray. And so I had to add some more gold, you know, perfect fall color. And anyway, that's the final layout. There you can see in the appropriate lighting the colors of everything. And I think this turned out pretty. I really do like the colors. You know, normally I'm a summer scrapper, but I do like to shift gears sometimes and work with something that's out of my comfort zone. And I think this turned out really cute, and it was fun to kind of mix and match all those bold pattern papers. And so I did wind up using a lot of the pattern papers, but just in small doses. So it's not so much pattern that you lose the photos. You know, I never want to make the layout so busy that you lose sight of the photos. So that's just kind of one of my own rules I set for myself. But anyway, I hope this gave you some ideas to try, or you were inspired in some way, and I cannot wait to start creating with the November Christmas kits. I'm so excited, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week.